Um, Speaking of losing confidence, we talk about losing confidence in California and the liberal government there. People are losing confidence in the CDC in droves because essentially we've been friggin' lied to. Fauci was testifying the other day. That was a dumpster fire, Dr. Lopkin.
It really was. It's gotten to the point where Fauci is just lashing out because over and over again, his claims are being disproven. And that is called following the science. You look at a theory, you test it, and you come up with a conclusion. Fauci doesn't want any of his conclusions being tested. That's why he keeps saying, oh, when you question, if you're questioning me, if you're doubting me, you're doubting the science. It's like, no, science is about learning. And the fact of the matter is, even today, going 2 years into this pandemic, we still don't know a lot about the virus. He should have been able to adapt, but his ego got in the way. It's like, no, you can't question me. I am the science.
I think the administration is bleeding so bad that that's his best defense. I think if they were in a much healthier situation, no pun intended, he would be hasta nuega, baby. He's toxic, not as toxic as Biden, but he's getting there. And speaking of getting there, inflation is at, we have to go back into the time machine, 1982. Let's see. I don't know what songs were popular then, but I'm sure if I had time, I could think of them. So 1982, 40 years ago, is when that was the last time we're reaching levels of inflation as we are now. Quite an accomplishment. Plus their shell.
It really is. The inflation rate came out today at 7%, the highest in 40 years. And I think something that's really important is, the Biden administration keeps saying, well, inflation is going up so much because the economy is on fire. In 1982, the last time it was this high, we were heading into a recession.
But by the way, I got out of college in that year, and it was recession/depression. It was a bad one.
Yeah. So, I mean, the inflation rate is not a good thing. Biden keeps touting the fact that wages have been going up, except wages are going up 4.8%, according to the latest jobs report that came out last week. You put a 4.8% wage growth and a 7% inflation rate, it means your money is actually worth less. So your wages aren't covering it. You're actually having real wage loss.
No question. But overall, in the bigger picture, I'd love your opinion. I'm sure our listeners would as well. Don't you really get an impression, even though it's only been a year, that we have an administration that's just grasping for straws and essentially flailing? And exponentially every month.
Yes, and everything he does causes him to flail more. It started with the withdrawal from Afghanistan. And then you had everything going on in the southern border. And by the way, in that Fauci CDC testimony in front of the Senate yesterday, or in front of Congress, you found out that over $1.5 billion was diverted from COVID relief by the administration to help deal with what was going on at the southern border, which was a crisis of Biden's own making. All Biden had to do was leave all of the policies alone, and he would have been in better shape. But every time he goes on, he fails miserably. And each time he goes, well, I can't do anything about that now, so I'm going to move on to this. And he fails more spectacularly each time he does that.
But who's his chief of staff? I did know his name at one time. It's not
Oh,
important. I don't really care, and I don't think our listeners do as well. But like, he is so, for someone that has spent his entire adult life in government, who either, I don't think he even knows what's going on. So his, let's just say his advisors. Let's talk about the voting rights initiative. It has no chance of passing, yet he's expending political capital on something that's a no-win. I mean, go figure.
well, it does show just how out of touch Biden and the Democratic leaders are. Because, and you can see this on the news every night, because they'll go to Biden or Jen Psaki and they say, yes, negotiations are going on with Joe Manchin. He's coming around. We're going to be able to pass this. And then they'll cut to Joe Manchin, and Joe Manchin will talk to reporters and say, no, there are no negotiations. This isn't going anywhere. And they refuse to listen to him. They keep thinking, oh, we can change his mind. Now it's coming out. It's not just Manchin who's blocking the filibuster from being removed. It's Manchin, it's Sinema, and there's 3 other Democrats who have been saying, no, we are not voting to remove the filibuster. But
Well,
Biden
it's
and
like
the
something
leadership are out of touch.
out of touch and incompetent. I've never seen anything like it, but we've already talked about that before. Something we haven't talked about. It's making the airwaves and the social media. I don't know if it'll happen. Hillary-Trump rematch. It'll be the Thriller in Manila. Ali Frazier again. I
Yeah,
don't think that's going to happen.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say if Hillary does decide to run, there is no way she's going to win the primary. The party has had it with her. She is quite possibly the only person in the party that's just as toxic as Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. They're not going to support her. She is done, but she just can't accept it.
No, I agreed. And the only thing I would say to that is, in her mind, because she lived for being president. She's never been over it. I'm sure she's drinking a lot of Chardonnay. I wouldn't want to get her bill, and also I wouldn't want to get her a bill for her psychotherapy. She never got over this, and it's funny though, she's trying to triangulate, and basically knowing that the party's gone way too far to the left. She came out in some interview, I don't know where it was, I don't really care, and basically saying that, well, we need more of a level head and more centrist, even though last election, when she was involved, she went as left as anyone.
Right, but even saying that, just a few days ago, she announced that, yes, she would support getting rid of the filibuster so that they could get this voter rights bill passed. So
she doesn't know.
Kidding. She's not kidding anybody. And the fact of the matter is, this is all bad for Biden-Harris. Because, and I think we might have mentioned this last week, it doesn't happen often, but there have been 3 times in history where the incumbent president was given a serious primary. In every case, the incumbent held on to the nomination but lost the general election.
Very good point. I believe it was Ford, Carter, and I don't know the other. I don't know the other.
Bush. It was George H.W. Bush.
Very good. So it's the final bit, which shows you the deterioration of the whole Biden-Harris presidency. Trump, who has many warts of his own, in a Rasmussen poll, not, Billy Bob's, Daily News, beats Biden by over 10 points. That speaks volumes.
Yeah. Well, at this point, I mean, the Democrats are losing versus generic Republicans. They're losing versus Trump. The fact of the matter is, this has been an administration of failure. They have failed everything. And The Democrats are looking at this going, you know what? This is not what we voted for. We did not vote for a leftist president. If we'd wanted that, we'd have elected Bernie Sanders. We wanted to elect a centrist, somebody who was going to unite the country and move us forward. And Biden has done everything against that. So his own party is like, no, enough is enough. You are going to see, and with the infighting in the party, you've got the progressives yelling that they're not going to support centrist candidates in the midterms. So they're eating themselves alive.
Yes, they are. I guess my final thought on the issue is when anyone says Biden did this, Biden did that, I always push back. I don't think he's done anything. I think that literally if people knew how bad the situation really is, I'm talking his mental capabilities, their jaw would drop. I think they do everything they can just to get him to do a 10-minute teleprompter update. I think he's been taken over by the far left, Bernie Sanders, AOC, that whole wing of the party, and I believe he just says, tell me what to do and I'll do it. And I really do believe that.
Oh, I have no doubt that his handlers are taking care of everything. They're the ones that are making the decisions. And I think what was really telling, as most people know, every year the president submits to a physical exam to make sure he's healthy. And in his last physical exam, they omitted testing his mental capacity.
Surprise, surprise. Well, Dr. Lopkin, great edition of Carnivore Radio, Carnivore Bites, and we're on we record every Wednesday, and we're also available in numerous outlets, aren't we?
You can find us at xvadio.com/podcasts, as well as the Carnivore Radio website. You can find us in the Apple Podcasts app, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Audible, Amazon Music, the new Xvadio YouTube channel, and wherever you find podcasts.
Thank you, Dr. Lopkin.
See you next time.